Welcome back, viewers at home, and thank you so much for tuning in right here on INX Prime Channel 345. We are here for another amazing conversation, and for that I am joined by Mr. Phuti Magwai, who is a dedicated educator, community activist, motivational speaker, and an accomplished author. His recent book, Your Time to Dominate, explores the themes of achievement, dedication, as well as hard work. In the book, he writes that achieving dominance and success requires more than just setting the goals. Joining us this evening to unpack more on the book is Mr. Phuti himself. Good evening and welcome to INX Prime.
Good evening, and good evening to your great listeners.
Now, when we're talking about dominance, people are thinking controlling. A lot of negative connotation comes to mind. Yeah. But I want to hear from you as to what really inspired you to write a book about, this dominance, as in take your time to dominate. If you can share for our viewers at home.
When you talk of dominate or dominance, it comes with negative connotation for many people. But people will understand that when you talk of dominance in this respect, it is where you master. For an example, if you were to become a business person in a particular area, you need to dominate in that. Then how do you dominate in that? When you dominate in that, you read more about the field in which you are. You also engage with people who are in that field so that you can master that field. You make sure that your goals, the goals that you set, are there to make sure that you come up with a very good and strong product. Therefore, it will then help you to be able to also educate other people who maybe see you as somebody that they can emulate. Yeah. If you become their heroes, they'll be able to say, that is my hero. Then you are then going to be able to go and mentor them. So you are not going to mentor into something that you don't dominate in. But then the biggest question is, how then do you dominate? I always tell that you need to read big. You need to study big. You need to talk big. You need to think big. But then this big in capital letters means it is an abbreviation. Okay. While you're all thinking of big as in bigness. Just big. Yes, but it's an abbreviation. Okay. What it abbreviates, it means the B in the big is the books that you read. Oh, okay. Should be in line with what you are doing, what you want to dominate in. In that case, you will know, you will have the mastery of what you want to dominate in. But then, what is the I in the big? The I in the big is the individuals that you meet. The individuals that you meet, the individuals that you engage in, should be those individuals that are in your field in which you want to dominate. In that case, when you engage with them, when you discuss with them, you discuss that which you know it is in your field. Then therefore you get more ideas from those individuals. Then the G is the goal that you have for your dominance. What do you want to achieve with your goal? So it should be that which you want to achieve should be that you want to end up also educating other people about the field in which you are.
Yeah. Now, the title being Your Time to Dominate, does that mean once you read the book, that's when you start embarking on your time to dominate? Or, there's always, is there a time frame, or any time can be a time for you to dominate? Because I'm trying to understand this time in the title where it says your time to dominate. Because we believe they say everything has its timing. Yes. So to dominate in this essence, does it have a particular timing, or any time you're ready, it's your time to dominate?
No. Any time in which you are ready, it is your time to dominate. It is your time to dominate. As soon as you make a decision. You don't wish here. You don't hope here. You decide. Okay. Because the danger with us is that we always wish I can do this. I always hope I can do this. But when you wish, when you hope, that remains wishing and hoping. But you decide. When you decide, you know what happens when you decide? Yeah. When you decide, then you take action. You follow the decision by taking action. But when you hope, you normally just hope and you wish that it will be manna from heaven.
As we're hoping that load shedding goes away, but
Yes.
it's time we decide on trying to find measures that will make sure that load shedding is gone forever. Now, another aspect that you explore in your book is discipline, and I think in this case you link that discipline is the link actually between goals and achievement. For viewers who are still like myself, still struggling to understand in what way is it a link, can you please elaborate for us?
It is a link in this way. There is, especially if you read chapter 1, we talk of deliberate action.
Okay.
You make a deliberate effort to do what? To achieve that which you want to achieve. Once you are not disciplined, you aren't going to have that deliberate action. You won't. But once you get disciplined, then you say, now I'm taking a deliberate decision to say, this is what I am going to do. This is what I am going to achieve. And ultimately, it comes up with what we call a one-thing mentality. You know what a one-thing mentality is? When you say, I want to become an author, for an example, an accomplished author, you say, what is the one thing that I can do today that will make me to become an accomplished author? Then from there you say, okay, if I can do this today, what is the one thing that I can do every 2 weeks that will make me to become an accomplished author? From there you say, what is the one thing that I can do in the next 3 weeks? So on and so forth, until something that we can do every year, every 2 years, every 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Once you are able to do that on everyday basis, then you would have said, now I am disciplined. And I'm disciplined to do it because I can do it every year, I can do it every week, I can do it every day, I can do every minute. Then you are able to achieve that which you set your goals for.
Now, Mr. Phuti, from what you're saying, I understand that, it speaks on being consistent in whatever you're trying to do or you're embarking on. Now, for someone who might confuse discipline for consistency, would you say they are still correct or they can be differentiated?
You can't be disciplined if you aren't consistent. You need to be consistent so that you remain disciplined. You need to be consistent so that you remain disciplined. Because if, for example, if you are not consistent, then the question is, how are you going to be disciplined? Because discipline goes with consistent, and it goes with persistence.
Now, another thing is, in your book, you speak about achieving dominance and success requires hard work, right? To viewers who are, they're working, because there's this saying that says, work smart, but not hard. And now you're saying to achieve dominance and success, you need to work hard. What is that hard looking like? Does this mean, just putting in hours without, much thought to it, or without much consistency to it, or without much discipline to it?
It is very important that, yes, I agree that you need to work smart. But then it is much better when you work harder.
Okay.
Because, for an example, if I want to study PhD, and I don't, sometimes you should be the first one to wake up and the last one to sleep. And in that period when you are awake, you should be studying. You should be reading. You should read and study so that you can become a doctor. Yeah. Then if, for an example, you want to become an engineer, you need to study more about engineering. So there is no way that you are going to short-circuit your study and say that I'm going to study smart. Yes, you can study smart, but you still need to study harder so that you can achieve your goal of wanting to become an engineer. So there is no way that you are going to say, I'm not going to study or work hard, I just want to work smart. You can only start working smart when you have started working hard, because once you learn how to study hard, then it becomes a habit. Okay. And when it becomes a habit, we all know, once it becomes a habit, it becomes another nature. You no longer need any other thing to remind you that I need to do this. It becomes natural to you. You do it not necessarily because you are being pushed by something. It now comes spontaneously into you. Yes.
Now, coming back to your book, Your Time to Dominate, right? I would like you to share with our viewers at home, because, you know, every time when you have to take the first step in doing something, there's always going to be either self-doubt or you feel like, you know, the universe is working against you doing whatever you're trying to start doing. But in your view, seeing that you wrote this book, Your Time to Dominate, what would you say are some of the practical steps in embarking on the journey where you actually dominate, whatever, be it profession or whatever the case may be?
You know, when Satan wants you to fail, and instead of you waking up to pray, you say, let me just nap for a few minutes. So, you know, that period, that's the very time that you need to say, you know what, I am waking up. If you are to do something, but you feel like you don't want to do it, so that's the time that you must say, you know what, I need to do this no matter what. Which means if you are going to make sure that you force yourself to do things that which you feel at that particular time, no, let me postpone. So once this thing of wanting to postpone comes, make sure that you fight it, and you fight it with all your might.
Now, for viewers at home who would like to get a copy of this book, what would you say this book covers in terms of its chapters, its themes, as well as what's the one thing you hope viewers who actually get a hold of this copy take away from reading?
You know, this book, it covers a lot of things. For an example, in the 9 chapters that I've written in this book, almost in each and every chapter, I've interviewed some people who are very successful, but who started from zero, practically started from zero. So you come to learn. When you read their story, you come to learn that these things are possible. I'm going to give you an example of, there were 3 cousins from the Eastern Cape. They were getting the 350.
Okay.
They were not employed. They were getting 350. But you know what they did? They saved their 350. Then after saving their 350, they decided to start a farming project.
Wow.
Today, as I'm speaking to you, they are very big in terms of farming. There are also 2 sisters who also, by accident, they became farmers. They were also saving their 350 for something. They did not have anything in mind. What is it that they wanted to do? But they happened, just, they just became fortunate. They met a friend who invited them to a farmer's day. They went there. They got enticed. They got hooked by what was happening there. So they had saved around 5,000 rand. They took that 5,000 rand. They started their business. Then as they started their business, they started reading books about farming. They started engaging with individuals about farming. Then they got hooked to the NYDA. So the NYDA funded them. Then
Wow.
they did not only do farming, because they were particularly on chicken, poultry. They also started doing agro-processing. They would have the live chicken, they will slaughter them, then they will sell them as drumsticks, as you see that.
Quite amazing.
You know, these things are possible. Then what is even more interesting, when you read this book, you learn how practical these things are. Because the biggest mistake that sometimes you do as motivational speakers, we just come up with very positive, big words, but you don't show people how practical these things are.
Yeah.
So once you show people how practical these things are, people come to believe in what we are talking to them. People come to believe on themselves, in themselves. They believe that if somebody can do it, I can do it. If somebody can do this, then I can also do it. Yeah. You know, I always tell people, like, everybody has got a story to tell. For an example, you can have. I was telling the cameraman here, or you can write a book about your cameraman journey.
Wow.
Already has told me a very interesting story that he can write a book about it. And in this book, people will come to realize that every problem is a business opportunity. People will say, how? You know what happens? What you need to do just to solve that problem for the community will thank you by paying you.
Mr. Phuti, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but this was quite a refreshing conversation. As you mentioned, being a motivational speaker is not about using your big words, but using practical conversations and practical scenarios that will make every individual feel like, success is attainable. It's not a matter of having a fixed capital or that generational wealth, but it can start with you or with just a mere 350. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Viewers at home, we are going to start looking at that government grant differently. Before we were like, what can you do with 350? But if you save that 350, it can do a lot. I mean, make sure you access the book to find out more on how the individuals actually utilize their 350 to starting a business that is now probably earning them thousands, if not millions. But viewers at home, on that note, let's head over to an ad break. See you when we come back.